Hey everyone, welcome back to the range. My name is Matt. It's 65 degrees outside, a beautiful spring day, so it means we need to start getting into our body armor testing. Today we have the ProtectVest from Bulletproof Zone. It is a level 3A low-vis panel. Wait, where is it? Oh, it's right here. I'm wearing it. It's low visibility, although my wife says from the other end, you can clearly see that I have something underneath my coat based on the colors that I'm wearing. But this is a very basic 10 by 12 carrier that is available to do 3A or different level 3 panels depending on how thick they are. Very, very basic package here. In full transparency, Bulletproof Zone sent me this level 3A ProtectVest to destroy with no strings attached. They also sent a Protection Group Denmark level 3A helmet that we have to test coming up this summer along with some other helmets. These particular 10 by 12 level 3A panels are made by Longfry. I forgot to actually weigh each individual panel, but both the front and rear panel plus the vest only weigh 2 pounds 15 ounces or 3 pounds altogether. So I'm going to assume that these are right around 1 pound. I'll have to double check and annotate if that is different. They're only around 420 thousandths thick, or for those across the pond, 10.7 millimeters. They have some blunt force trauma foam in the back and somewhat of a hard covering in the front. This particular panel is 100% through and through ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. It is fairly flexible. I think with this rigid cover out front, it doesn't make it contour to bends as easily, but it's still fairly flexible. Now over here on my channel, we do things completely different than a lot of other YouTube channels when it comes to testing body armor. We try to do things as close to some of the NIJ protocols as possible without being an actual NIJ lab, because we're out here at the range. Anything that you guys see me test out here and stop or penetrate should only be an additional data set in your quest for purchasing armor. You should always rely on the manufacturer to have any of these threats actually tested in an accredited lab. Since this is pistol armor, we're going to shoot at 12 feet. We also shoot at 0 degrees because that is worst case scenario. We use a giant clay briefcase filled with Roma plastilina #1 clay donated by Chavant. That is the actual NIJ ballistic clay that they use, but the NIJ heats it up to around 100 degrees and they drop a ball from it and they certify the dent that it leaves so that they know they're going to get an accurate representation of back face. What we're going to have here is just kind of what it could look like, and if we see some kind of indent that's over 44 millimeters, that's the max that the NIJ calls for. Likely when the clay would be warmer, that would be failing. We also use a chronograph whenever possible. We have a Pro Chronopal digital DLX because we need to record the velocity of that particular round with pistol armor. When it comes to, say, Kevlar, that particular design of fiber has a velocity limit of around 16 to 1700 feet per second. When we get into polyethylene, the whole internet myth that speed defeats armor gets flopped on its side. We can actually stop quite a bit of speed with polyethylene. And finally, we have a giant spreadsheet that we put here at the beginning that kind of foreshadows all the different threats that we're going to shoot at it. And in the end, we fill it out, mark the velocities, and we double check all of our penetrations, and we do a tear down. Although with this being a flexible 3A panel, there's not going to be a whole bunch inside to look at. Now the main point of this test is to actually test the limits of our level 3A panels. I would say this is a pretty decent carrier. I like that we have some good elastic cummerbunds on the side. I will say for my given size and for the size of my wife, our shoulder straps need more adjustment to actually get them tighter because you want the top of your armor to be right around the bottom of this little soft spot of your neck here. And with this particular more universal size, you're going to run out of room in a 10 by 12 panel, which is what I normally would wear. I also don't really like how we have the front and back labeling on here. For being a low visibility carrier, if you had to throw this on, this is going to get picked up by someone at quite a bit of distance because it's white font. I think you probably could just have that labeled on the inside to be more low visibility. Anyways, we're going to try to stick to some known good threats for level 3A. Again, we can throw, armor piercing rounds at this all day and poke holes through it, and there is some fun factor in that, but I also want you guys to take data away from this. So we're going to start with 9mm. We've got our 16-inch ARV9. This is, maximum real-world velocity. We have L7A1, that's 124 grain full metal jacket. We also have some Liberty Civil Defense. That is a 50 grain plus P plus loading, all copper, known for popping level 3A Kevlar at least. Again, polyethylene does a pretty good job stopping it. We'll take the L7A1 shots first. We may have to move the panel in between. So this first shot should be on the second row in the middle. Pretty darn good velocity off that. Then the second round will be to the right of that. Nice, even better velocity. And then the third round will place directly above the first shot. Very, very warm velocities there. Now, if these do penetrate out of this 16-inch, I did bring shorter barrel lengths, but in prior testing, our Liberty Civil Defense and polyethylene, you can usually get the 16-inch barrel to stop them. Very, very warm velocities today. Now, this is where we should see lots more back face. We've brought out our 44 caliber. This is actually not 44 Magnum, but 429 Desert Eagle. In my quest for setting up for level 3A testing for this year, the NIJ level 3A spec calls for 1,430 feet per second from a 240 grain semi-jacketed hollow core. Now, the Spear bullet has been discontinued, so these are a Sierra equivalent. Not the same. Again, I'm not the NIJ, so I try to do as best as I can. But in 44 mag with a 5-inch Desert Eagle, I was about 90 feet per second short of hitting that spec. So with our 429 Desert Eagle, that's a 50 Action Express bullet, neck down to 44 Magnum, we can hit those velocities very, very easily with this cartridge. We're rocking our older Mark 19, just put a set of the Hogue Piranha G10 grips on here, got an EGW mount up top and a Tacticon red dot on here. So this should be right dead center of the plate. We were well above spec. That's where we're gonna have to learn to dial some of these loads down. Let me go check our panel. All right, I stopped the testing on plate number 1, mainly because of the 44 mag shot bunched a bunch of the PE up, so we want to flatten it out before we're taking more shots on it. But our L7A1 shots number 1, 2, and 3 are shots of the Liberty Civil Defense. That was shot number 1, and I don't know why I put shot number 2 right there, so that's not a fair hit. You need to maintain 2 inches of dispersion between each shots. That's why there's a dot on each one. And then our 44 mag that was almost 100 feet per second over spec was right there. Place those bets in the comments below. R.A.N.G.E. I think we have a pass through from that second shot of our Liberty Civil Defense, but our 44 mag was stopped. But holy dent, that is quite the dent. Let's see if we get a back face on that. That is 54 millimeters, and again, this is above specification. That's why I'm just out here, and your mileage may vary. You shouldn't take anything I do as 100% truth. Always defer to NIJ lab official testing. Our shot of L7A1 was 49 millimeters. That's a little excessive for 49. I will say from the get-go, the one thing you can do to improve the performance of our soft plates is to actually sew the outside edges to keep our panel together. We'll see if we can flatten this one out, and we'll confirm the penetration on that Liberty Civil Defense, but let's get on to panel number 2. Now we're going to step outside this panel's comfort zone. Under current NIJ 06 standards, there is no addressing 5.7 by 28 millimeter. Those are known as special threats. We have a little smorgasbord or variety of rounds here. We have Elite Ammunition's S4. This is the SS 192, 195, 198 LF bullet, 28 grains with an aluminum core, and it should be going over 2,300 feet per second. We have their 40 grain pre-fragmented projectile. They offer those from time to time for hand loading. We should see right around 17 to 1,800 feet per second from that. We have Vanguard Outfitters 36 grain GPM. That is a hollow point round. And then, because people have asked why I don't use SS 190, we have some Fiocchi SS 190. That is a 31 grain penetrator, has an aluminum core and a steel tip in it. We'll take that shot last. The Vanguard third, the pre-fragmented projectile second, and the S4 first. We have a Palmetto State Armory Rock with the 5.2 inch threaded barrel. Got a Holosun 407 up top. We'll put this shot the top of the plate. .2362, very, very nice. It was a little low where I wanted it. Now the pre-fragmented projectile, the 40 grain, will be to the right. Oh, that one did not read. And now our Vanguard Outfitters. And then for good measure, our SS 190. Nice. Pretty good velocity off that. Now we'll step up our barrel length. This is our FNP 90. This has a 10.4 inch barrel. Rocking a Holosun AEMS on here. Got the mount set up from HBI Industries. They're offering some different mounts for here. Got a Surefire flashlight mount on the right hand side. We have the same 3 rounds, the S4M, the pre-fragmented projectile, and then the Vanguard 36 grain. Don't need the SS 190. You can probably guess why, but we'll show you in a minute. Now, if these don't penetrate, I did bring the 16 inch Ruger LC today. These should be walked all right in a line, so this will be the S4 first. Should be right where it says like the E on strike face. Very, very good velocity off that. 40 grain, now the 40 grain load. And now the Vanguard Outfitters. Nice. I have a couple more 5.7 threats, and then I think we can finish it off with some 9mm loads. This particular one right here is from R&R Weapon Systems. This is their Impetus series ammunition. The IS-130D V3, it's a 30 grain pre-fragmented tipped projectile. And then this guy right here is from 80 Teeth Ammunition. This is a 55 grain solid, I think it's 916 Bravo. We've brought out our Smith & Wesson M&P 5.7. I want to get some rounds downrange in this and see how it goes. We'll take the 916 Bravo shot first because I'm not sure where it's going to hit because it is a 55 grain load. We'll try to put this in the middle of the plate on the right hand side. Take the R&R Weapon Systems shot towards the top. Now we've brought out the longest barrel length that we have in 5.7. This is our Ruger LC Carbine. If anything from this testing, it goes to show that in some cases, velocity alone is not what penetrates armor. Bullet construction is also a deciding factor as well. So we've got another round of the 40 grain pre-fragmented projectile, then the S4 from Elite Ammunition. So this one should be right on the second line. Very, very healthy velocity. And then the 40 grain pre-fragmented will be right below that, hopefully. We have quite a few hits on this plate, which again, for polyethylene, is usually easily done. The SS190 was down here. I think there's something wrong with our pre-fragmented projectiles because we're getting 2 hits on the plate when we're taking the shots. There was the one right there, and there was a 16-inch. Here was the 16-inch S4. Here was the IS-130D. Then our 916 Bravo was right there. I think we have a few more shots on here for a couple weird threats, but place those bets in the comments below. R.A.N.G.E. It's going to be hard to see on this. We have penetrations from the 16-inch S4 as well as, it would appear, the PFP and the 916 Bravo, as well as the SS190. That one was a given. Again, it's got a seal penetrating tip in it, so that one's going to penetrate no problem. We'll double check any of these penetrations and move on to our final threats. Haven't used this in quite a while. This is our 30 carbine in our M1 carbine. This is a 16-inch barrel. This is a 110 grain full metal jacket. I do believe they're going right around, I think, 1,800 feet per second, kind of like 357 Magnum. I think a long time ago I used this against some Kevlar and it popped right through, and I figured while we were out shooting it today, my kid likes shooting this, we'd throw around against our plate to see what it would do. I've taken the front cover off the plate because it's not really doing anything right now, so I can actually see these shots. I figure for our last shot, we'll go back to the 9mm. This is another specialty load. This is an 80 grain solid copper spun load from Fort Scott Munitions. We've got our CZ Scorpion Evo 3 S1 SBR here, 7.72-inch barrel. Hopefully my offsets are nice and good here. Nice. All right, let's go see what we did. Apparently having one of those days. Our 30 carbine shot was right here. I was hoping it was going to be right there, and for some reason the sights put it up there. Our Fort Scott Munitions load was right there. Place those bets in the comments below. R.A.N.G.E. Our Fort Scott Munitions load actually penetrated, but our 30 carbine load right next to that other shot did not penetrate. Now it bunched up our fabric here, and again, if we could sew these layers together on the outer edges, and you don't have to go all the way through, but if you just do the corners, it will make the plate perform a little better because then the layers can't separate. But this goes to show you that polyethylene is very good at controlling hits, even in close proximity, because that in the NIJ's eyes would not be considered a fair hit. As far as our teardown goes, there's not going to be a whole lot. Here is our outer nylon covering. On the back, we have some foam to help control blunt force trauma. It's not very high density. Probably would look towards upgrading that. It is only taped on. Here was our last layer here. Penetrations, as we described, were the SS190, the 16-inch S4, our 916 Bravo. Pretty good. Again, with specialty 5.7 loads, you can design some to do some nasty things. Our 30 carbine was indeed stopped. The bullet was recovered right there. Otherwise, this is just all polyethylene. There's some of the 5.7 rounds in here. The Fort Scott munitions has made it through. That is a nasty little round, especially when you add velocity. Cool, look at all those little copper fragments in there. There's the R&R Weapon Systems load. And then our first panel, there was our recovered 44 mag bullet. That left quite a bit of back face. I need to dial that load back. Our Liberty Civil Defense, that second shot actually penetrated. That's not a fair hit. So likely other shots from a 16-inch further out would stop it. It actually caused it to go out that way. You can see the one that it did stop was right there, and none of the other rounds made it very far into this panel at all. So that is a good thing. Again, polyethylene, good at stopping, speed, and a little bit of bullet construction. As I mentioned, I need to dial that 44 mag load back because it calls for 1430 feet per second, and being 100 feet per second over is going to introduce more energy and more blunt force trauma. If Bulletproof Zone has actual NIJ testing to show that the 44 mag has been stopped, definitely defer to that. Overall, a pretty impressive plate for our polyethylene. We have seen some higher grades stop some nastier threats, but all in all, pretty good job. Well, everyone, it's about time to close the book on this ProtectVest from Bulletproof Zone. I am sad now that I have no actual armor panels to go inside this carrier, but all in all, I think we had a good showing here. With our ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, we've shown that it can stop lots and lots of speed and sometimes a little bit of bullet construction when it concerns our special threats like our 5.7. Although in this case, when we got up there in speed with our S4 out of our 16-inch barrel, we were able to penetrate. Now our 44 mag load, that was above specification, so that's why the indent in the clay was quite a bit over what the actual spec calls for. However, in all seriousness, the likelihood of someone shooting you with a 44 mag, let alone someone with a 429 Desert Eagle, is probably going to be very little. You're more than likely to face someone with 9mm 380 or even 5.7 because it's becoming quite popular. But as we showed here today, unless you're into the really special high-end loads or SS190, which is going to run people anywhere from $5 to $10 a round in the United States, those threats are likely not to be encountered. With all that being said, it's time for me to get the heck out of here because I'm getting hungry. But at the end of all my videos, I take a moment to thank all those who help make these possible. Number one is my Patreon and Subscribe Star fans. I have a link tree in the description below with various different ways to contact me or support me through affiliate links. I have an affiliate link for Bulletproof Zone and a coupon code. I do believe that is BPZ Buffman, and I think that's either 5 or 10% off. In effect, that earns me a sales commission credit, and what I do with a lot of those funds is buy more ammunition and or more wood or clay briefcases because I keep destroying them. Number two is Bulletproof Zone. Again, in full transparency, sent us this Protect Level 3A vest to destroy with no strings attached. We have that helmet to test at some point in the future. Of course, number three is you all for watching. Until next time, I'll catch you at the range. It doesn't stick out this far.
Yourself.
Oh, do I look square?
I mean, you can clearly tell you've got something. It looks like you're stealing someone from the store.
Okay.